is Emily, and I attend Common Ground Northeast. We have been trying to establish some rhythms in our household in terms of teaching and discipling our kids, and just creating spiritual rhythms for our family. And of course, during COVID, we felt like it was even more important that we establish some consistent disciplines that we engaged in with our children. One of the probably my favorite thing that we have consistently done is choosing how we are going to do communion with our kids. So every Sunday, usually in the afternoon, the boys will help me make matzah. It's a really simple recipe of just flour and water. You roll it out so it's really thin, and then you poke the dough before you put it in the oven, partially to keep it from rising because it's meant to be flat. But also there's a lot of symbolic significance to piercing the bread, which is Jesus' body, the same way that it was pierced on the cross for us. And it's just a really good, tangible reminder of what that bread actually represents. After you take the bread out of the oven, it only has to cook for 2 minutes on each side. If you've done a really good job, it's really nice and thin and crisp. And we set the table. We have a bowl of olive oil and a bowl of kosher salt, or just regular table salt if you wanted to. And as the boys sit down, they each take a piece of the matzah, and using a basting brush or a pastry brush, we have them anoint the bread. And we've talked to the boys about like the significance of anointing in the Old Testament. We've talked about the idea that oil was used to anoint kings, like King David, when they were selected by God to do something important. And then there's also that really beautiful picture of Jesus being anointed with the perfume. So we have them anoint their bread and kind of talk about the symbolism of oil and what it means to be anointed. And then once they've put the oil on their matzah, we have them sprinkle it with salt. And this is it's a really tangible way to talk about the idea of being salt to the earth, because we know that we're told to be salt and light. And a lot of times I think as Christians, we have a hard time maybe culturally understanding what it means to be just the right amount of salty. And so with the kids, it's really funny because we talk about like salt preserves things, and it also makes it taste good, makes it taste better. So when we are being salt on this earth, that we are doing things that are preserving, but that also make things just a little bit better, but that just a little bit too much salt can destroy the whole thing. And so that really beautiful balance. And as they prepare for communion, we have one of our kids that can read open up to one of the passages and read out about the Last Supper. And so as usually Titus or Jonah reads, we have our kids take their matzah in their hands, and when it says that his body was broken for us, we have them break it and then partake. After they do that, then we have the juice or the wine. Usually my husband and I will have a glass of wine. Sometimes the kids have water or lemonade, or if we're feeling really festive, we'll go and get some sparkling cider for them. And as we read about Jesus's blood pouring out for us in that moment in communion, rather than it just being somber, which is completely appropriate sometimes for communion, we also rejoice with our children that we do this here until he comes again. And so we all lift our glasses before drinking, and we clink them together and say, till he comes again. And then we just pray and enjoy our meal and just make it a really special time. And we just try to find ways to set that meal apart, from having the kids help do the matzah, to decorating the matzah with the oil and the salt. But then also we just set, a few simple candles in the middle of the table, and you really use it as a weekly reflection. So if you're interested in the recipe, I can link you to what we typically use for our matzah recipe. And if you have any other rhythms that you've created either for communion or other things in your household during this time, we'd love to hear about those from you.
So we're making matzah, and it's simple ingredients, which makes sense because matzah was the bread that the Israelites had to flee from Egypt with, and so they didn't have very many things that they could bring with them. You'll see that they're all doing kind of different parts of it right now, but you make the dough, you roll it into a ball, smooth it out, flatten it, and then you poke holes into it.